Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's Talks with the Docs. My name is Dr. Kelsey. I'm with Sacred Chiropractic and Acupuncture in Kansas City, Missouri, up in Briarcliff Village. And this is Dr. Karen Williams. Karen, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Dr. Karen Williams. I'm the acupuncturist here at Sacred Spa and Wellness, right outside of Saratoga Springs, New York. So please come see us if you're visiting for the racetrack season or otherwise.
Yes. Today we are going to go over the earth element. We're going to kind of talk about the seasons, what season we are transitioning to, what that means for your health and wellness. Dr. Karen's going to go over some dietary tips and tricks, maybe some teas that you should add at home. I'm going to go over some exercises, potentially if you're comfortable and they feel safe to you, some exercises to do at home and two acupuncture points to take home as well. So we have a lot to cover today about just, what's coming up energetically in the next six weeks, couple weeks or so. With that, I will let you take it away, Dr. Karen.
Okay, thank you for the intro, Dr. Kelsey.
Of course.
So we all think that fall's coming up, right? Wrong. Fall is not the next season. So in Chinese medicine, there are 5 elements, but there's also 5 seasons. So we are rapidly approaching, we are actually in now a season that's called late summer. So late summer is a short transitional period beginning in mid-August, which we are now here, and lasting until the autumn equinox. So we are currently in late summer. So late summer is the phase, it's the season where things begin to slow down after months of activity and hanging out with friends and being productive and having lots of growth. So now is really the time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the abundance that we've created during the summer. So kind of the transitional period as autumn begins. So as Dr. Kelsey was saying, the season of late summer correlates to the earth element. And in Chinese medicine, the earth element correlates to the spleen and stomach organs. And that manages our digestion. So in TCM, the spleen is very easily affected by dampness, which is one of the evils in our medicine. The spleen likes to be warm and dry. So if dampness occurs in the body, it's often due to lifestyle, such as like a poor diet, too much dairy, fried foods, too much sugar, excessive alcohol, or cold and uncooked foods. So when there's a lot of dampness in the body and it's excessive, it can manifest as being lethargic, heavy, slowness, just like having brain fog, just being irritable altogether. The emotions that are associated with unbalanced earth energy is worry. So often that can manifest as stress and anxiety if one is experiencing an imbalance with that.
Yeah, I like to say overthinking, like worry.
Yes, overthinking. Yes.
Yeah.
Worry, overthinking. Yeah, second guessing yourself, always thinking too much. Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to just talk a little bit about how we can stay in balance with the earth energy during late summer. So right now it's really important just to go within and take stock of how you're feeling. What's going on with your body. We're shifting our energy more inwards now. So it's really time to start focusing on self-care and in particular, diet and exercise. So now is the time, late summer is the time to really start focusing on building and strengthening our bodies, our immune systems for the upcoming cooler months. So now is the time to start that. This can be achieved by really focusing on diet. So we're going to start incorporating more protein and fat rather than what we were consuming during the spring and summer months, more vegetables and eating more light foods. But we also want to eat what's within the season as well, right? So we want to like start eating more apples and squash, root vegetables, cooked beans. Tahini's really good, like more nuts and seeds, and definitely trying to focus more on meat and whole grains, more cooked foods too.
Yeah.
We'll go into a little bit more into that.
Squash and pumpkin, those like fall colors are
Oh,
what I
yeah.
tell people to eat. Yeah.
Yes. Eating like the colors, right? Because fall, in the summer, you're eating lots of things that are green and vibrant red, and, because that's the color of summers. And in fall, it's more of the earth tones. So things like squashes and sweet potatoes and parsnips and carrots, more root vegetables. And
round and on the ground is what my teacher always said.
What is that?
Round and on the ground is what you should eat.
I love that. I never heard of that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I just love that. Yes, but now is the time to really be incorporating more herbs as well into your diet. So I want to focus on herbs that are easily found. They can be found in your pantry or your spice rack. So I want to talk about herbs that are warming and drying to the spleen and stomach. So they could really help with digestion and help boost immunity. So spices or herbs such as like cinnamon, cardamom, turmeric, coriander, ginger, nutmeg, and fennel. Those are really great for digestion, and they're warming and drying in nature. So that's what we're looking for. And these spices, they can be easily added into your food, like in your oatmeal in the morning, or yogurt, or if you want, what's ideal is you can prepare a tea out of them. So into, water that's been boiled, you can add, like, for example, like 1 part fennel, 1 part coriander, and 1 part cumin seed, and just let it kind of simmer for 15 minutes in the water and strain it. And that is a great tea to be consumed to help with digestion. And it's ideal to do it on an empty stomach as well. So, and if that doesn't really suit your taste, some people are really not into fennel and cumin seed or coriander. Something that's equally as useful is you could do nutmeg, ginger, and clove, and cinnamon. And that's basically a chai tea. So, just without the milk and sugar, but you can kind of, aid digestion with that as well, with the ginger and the clove and the cinnamon. So that's very warming and drying as well. Now, one thing I will say though, is if you do have a lot of internal heat, or, you tend to have more towards constipation, or, I would not advise to add these warming, drying herbs to your, to your daily routine. But if if you're feeling like you really are imbalanced, with the earth element, and you have some bloating and some loose stools, or you just have trouble digestion, with your foods, I would definitely add this tea or these, warm and drying herbs to your diet. So that could be rather useful. And it's something that we all have, right, in our pantry or our cabinets. So and you could just do a pinch of equal parts of each, of each spice into the water. So, and that will like make a cup. So, so that's one way to keep your spleen balanced and happy. These are just some like general tips overall that we practice in Chinese medicine. Is we do not drink ice water.
Yes. I tell that to so many people.
I know, they look at us like, what? Ideally, we should be drinking room temperature water, but I know that's off-putting for a lot of people. So, if you want to drink cooler water, that's fine. But please don't put ice in your water. And just because it's very cold and it taxes the energy of the spleen and will slow down digestion. That's why I just find it fascinating. Like when you go to an American restaurant versus a restaurant like in China, they will put ice, in the American restaurants in their water, and they make their beer, the beer glasses, like really frosty and cold.
Yeah.
When I was in China, it was very interesting. Like there was no ice in the water. Beer was served at room temperature, which is, was a little bit strange, but, they practice what they preach over there. So, they know that things that are very cold are, or raw and they're not cooked can really, really, hamper and tax the energy of the spleen. So, after consuming something that's really cold, it will slow down digestion, and this can manifest as bloating and distension in the abdomen. And, you may have, some gas and bloating after eating. So that's a sign that the food is not being broken down properly. So, yeah. And along with that is, like I mentioned, eating the warming foods that are cooked and, they're not in raw form.
Yeah.
So the longer and the slower that foods are cooked, like I said, the less energy is needed from the spleen to digest them. So soups and stews do not take a lot of energy to digest, and, it's less taxing on the body. So it preserves the spleen's energy and makes it more efficient for the spleen to do its job, like, boosting the immune system and protecting us from pathogens. So be nice to your spleen. Eat foods that are warming and cooked. Oh, and another thing too. So the stomach's optimum digestion time is between 7 and 9 a.m. and spleen time, according to the Chinese clock, is from 9 to 11 a.m. So don't skip breakfast. I know a lot of people do intermittent fasting, but especially during this time period, as we're in spleen stomach season, enjoy a good, healthy, nutritious breakfast and brunch to really strengthen your spleen and stomach chi. So yeah, now's the time. We really just want to, nourish yourself. So eat a good breakfast.
I'm guilty of that.
I know. So am I.
I'm guilty of that one. I try to stay away from ice water, but
right. On cool days, I know we like to drink it, but it just kind of like seizes everything up because cold constricts, and your spleen stomach is like, oh, what are you doing? Now I can't do my job,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there are exceptions, and I always go by the 80-20% rule. If you can follow these guidelines for like 80% of the time, because we're all human, no one's perfect,
Yeah.
the majority of the time, try to follow these suggestions, and you don't have to be 100% because no one's perfect. So I'm just going to touch on some foods that really will help benefit spleen function. So like I said, and like Dr. Kelsey, we talked about, is eating with the season. So right now we're harvesting corn and turnips and pumpkins and, and root vegetables and, winter squashes. So now is the time to, start consuming those foods. Like I said, whole grains is really great. Barley is wonderful for the spleen. Yi, ren. So brown rice, amaranth, oats, legumes, beans, seeds, sesame seeds, tahini, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. Those are really, really good. Seeds and nuts, pistachios, walnuts, great for yang qi, strengthening yang qi, walnuts, and great for the brain too. Lots of omega-3s. And then, like I talked about before, the warming and drying herbs, black pepper, turmeric, cardamom, clove, fennel, cinnamon, horseradish, nutmeg, garlic, ginger. But like I said, if you have more yang or more heat, or I would tend to steer away from those if so things to avoid, foods to avoid, and that actually cause injury to the spleen, besides cold and raw foods or ice. Excessive dairy, some dairy is okay, but excessive dairy causes a lot of dampness and phlegm in the body. So, and we can see this when you come in for a Chinese medicine exam, or when you're coming in for your acupuncture and we look at your tongue, we can see if you have a lot of dairy or have a lot of dampness on the tongue. So
yeah.
People are always amazed, like when I say, "Oh, do you eat a lot of dairy?" Well, yes, I do.
Or processed foods.
Yeah, you could see a lot of dampness and phlegm. So it's very interesting. Wheat, too much wheat, and like I said, I'm talking like excess, excessive amounts of these things, not just here and there. So if you tend to eat more processed foods, refined flours, breads, refined sugars, a lot of coffee, alcohol, deep fried foods, all those are going to have a detrimental effect on the spleen if consumed in excess. If you have a cup of coffee in the morning, it's not going to kill the spleen, but I think the spleen would be happier if you had tried the tea,
Yeah.
Or, maybe just during the short 1 month period, this short 4-week period, transition time of late summer, into autumn. So you see how you feel.
Yeah.
So, other things to keep your spleen happy is, the spleen likes to be warm and dry. So we want to keep fluids and things moving in the body. So, it's still nice outside. So take advantage of it. Routine exercise is still important, no matter what you like to do, and late summer, like this time of year, it's perfect for like hiking or biking or just walking, so you still have time to get out there and enjoy before autumn and the cooler weather come. I know here it's starting to cool off already. I think we were in the 50s last night, Dr. Kelsey.
Oh, wow.
And we're only in the 70s.
It's hot here. It's supposed to be 104 this weekend.
You can definitely feel the transition happening. I mean, I can always tell it's usually mid-August. The leaves start to come off the trees already.
Oh, wow.
And the nights get cooler and the days start cooling off too. So with the cooler weather, like I said, cool constricts. So as the cooler weather does approach, muscles and joints will be contracted. So before you do get out and exercise, just make sure you gently move them to loosen them up. It's not like summer, you're already kind of loose from being warm. So just make sure you warm up a little before you exercise.
Yeah. Dynamic stretching is what we like to call it.
What?
I said dynamic stretching is what we like to call it. Not just stretching, but dynamic movement. Yeah.
That would be perfect. Are you gonna show us some moves?
Yeah, at the end here I have a couple exercises, but they're actually more, I guess you could call them like dynamic stretching.
Oh,
they're not
cool.
they're not like aggressive exercises.
Yeah. Oh no, it has to be very gentle, because like I said, we kind of want to get them a little bit the muscles activated before you really get out there and do anything, And like you said, Dr. Kelsey, the spleen, overthinking, worry, that's the emotion that's associated with the spleen. So now's the time you really want to practice grounding and mindfulness, and we want to avoid too much worry and overthinking. So do things that make you happy. Do whatever brings you joy. Journal, paint, do yoga twists, to really stretch, kind of like constrict and stretch the stomach and spleen muscles, organs. So, yoga twists are always nice. That helps with the digestion too.
Yeah.
So, and the spleen is also responsible for your immune system, right? So we want to start building and optimizing that as well as we approach into the cooler months.
Yeah.
So, if you're prone to fall allergies or seasonal colds, now is the time to really, you want to implement prevention strategies. And acupuncture is great, Chinese medicine, herbs, or some of the herbs that I mentioned earlier, just, drinking that tea. That's a great way to enhance your natural immunity. And sleep. You might want to start, with the summertime, you tend to need less sleep because, the sun's rising earlier, you're getting up earlier, you may not need as much sleep, but, sleep plays a key role in immune function. So we might want to up that a bit too and make sure we are getting the adequate amount of sleep to boost your immune system and keep you healthy.
Yes.
So, I mean, those are the tips that I have for late summer with, keeping your, spleen function optimum. So,
yes, I absolutely love that. I love that you added in like the next transition into fall, right? Because
late summer is so short, Dr. Kelsey.
Yeah.
Like 4 weeks, a little over 4 weeks, so.
Yeah. I've read, 4 weeks. I've seen some texts that are like 6 weeks in regions.
I know it's like, it says, mid-August until the autumn equinox. So.
Right. And I think it varies like climate wise too, like what your climate's like where, and what you're experiencing. So, I love that you added in a little bit of that fall, right, as we're going to go into, like lung, large intestine, like allergy type stuff. So,
yes. And we'll talk about that more next talk.
Next month. So yeah. To finish today, like I was saying earlier, I want to go over some exercises as Dr. Karen was talking about. So I have 3 different exercises for everybody to kind of go over. They're going to be, to your availability and to your, like capability. So don't hurt yourself. Don't be like, oh, I did this, Dr. Kelsey, and now my knees hurt or my back hurts. And so listen to your body first and foremost, but these are the ones that are going to bring out the stretching of the organs, kind of like Dr. Karen was talking about. So for those of you just kind of where you can kind of know where the stomach and spleen run. So the stomach starts on the face and it runs down the front of the body and ends on the toes. And then the spleen then runs up the inside of your legs, up through your groin, and ends on the outside of your ribs. And so it's going to be key to do a lot of that like forward bending, backwards bending sort of motion, just because that's exactly where the meridians run. So the first one I have is a knee tuck twist pose, technically is what the name of it was, but what you're going to do is you're going to lie on your back and you're going to bring your knees to your chest. And when you bring your knees to your chest, you're also going to bend your chest to your chest. So you're kind of like in this tight ball. And while you're in this tight ball, I'm just going to have you rock back and forth, left and right, whatever, kind of massage maybe your low back. Some people, this is a way for you to like bring awareness to that low back. And then while your knees are tucked to your chest, you're going to relax your head. You're going to put your arms off to the side and you're going to stretch your head left and right. I see there's stomach points that are good for the TMJ. They go down the SCM. So a lot of times people will start to feel, like tension in their neck and down through their abdomen. So this is just a way to kind of stretch that anterior chain all the way through that abdomen, basically, by just turning your head gently left and right. And then when you're done, You're going to bring your head and body back to center and bring your legs back down to the ground. So that one's the easiest of all that I have, because you're just lying on your back, bringing your legs up, twisting your head, bringing your legs back down. So that's kind of that forward motion. So as a chiropractor, I think of there's multiple planes of motion. There's twisting, there's rotation, there's lateral flexion, right? So this is going to be in that frontal plane of motion. The second one is going to be a kneeling pose. So I actually talked about this last time with the fertility, because spleen was huge in fertility. So this is going to already, for those of you that watched last month, this is one that you're going to already kind of know. But what you're going to do is you're going to start on your knees. If you need to have like a bolster underneath your buttocks, if you need like a yoga, like there's like, like yoga pads that people meditate on, or if you have yoga blocks or whatever like that, to kind of help. But you're just going to be kneeling in that pose, and you're actually going to recline backwards if you can, but do this slowly and put your elbows and your forearms on the ground. So you're creeping down. You're not like flopping yourself backwards, doing it, doing it in a safe and proper manner. So you're going to creep backwards. If you can, touch your fingertips to your toes, take a couple breaths there, and then go all the way back with your back flat on the ground and stretch your arms up if possible. Not everybody is that flexible, but take it to where you're comfortable, and then come back up to that kneeling position again. So the first one was bringing that everything forward and kind of stretching the back, and now this one is stretching the front and opening up that front part of your body. The last kneeling pose that I actually have, so it's also kneeling. So if you've had like knee replacements, something like that, this may not be for you, both of those last exercises. But if you are kneeling on the ground again, you can put a bolster once again under your buttocks, and what you're going to do is you're actually just going to bring one leg at a time in front of you, as if you were doing like going up the stairs, or as if you were going to like do a lunge, but instead of like bringing yourself down into a lunge, you're actually bringing your leg up from the ground. And what that's going to do is that's going to stretch out that leg. So as I was talking about, that stomach and spleen are both leg meridians. They both start or end on the foot. That it's going to be important to then stretch out that anterior chain of the leg. So bringing up your leg and putting your foot flat on the ground, taking some intentional breaths, maybe stretching out that medial side of your leg. Medial is kind of like your groin area or the inner parts of your legs. And then you're going to bring that leg down and you'll bring the next one up. So you can do this however you're comfortable. You could probably even doing it sitting in a chair if you needed to modify. But those are my 3 exercises. So they're kind of dynamic in that you're not wanting to stop moving. So that's what I was talking about before with Dr. Karen, is like the difference between a dynamic stretch and a stable stretch is a lot of times people, when they're like stretching, they'll just go down, touch their toes, come back up, go out, touch their leg, come back up. Dynamic stretching is actually like putting that motion in with it. So that's like kind of going into that lunge, moving your leg up, like having motion in while you're still stretching your body is what's going to be key, and not just like a straight hold for 10 to 30 seconds. It's going to be kind of like a yoga practice or a qigong practice where it's fluid, where you may sit in a position for a second or 2, but you're not going to be there for a long time. And that's what dynamic stretching was. Just to explain to those that aren't, coming into my practice and I'm not explaining that to them already. So that is the 3 exercises that I had. And then I had 2 acupuncture points for take homes. So the first one is called spleen 6, and spleen 6 is huge. It's called 3 yin meeting, 3 leg yin, 3 leg crossing. Like there's lots and lots of names on it. It's where the 3 lower yin meridians meet in the lower part of the body, and it's a huge point for anything female then. So it helps with like women's health, PMS symptoms, low libido, but then also abdominal discomfort, poor appetite, loose stools, fatigue, insomnia, dizziness, abdominal discomfort. I don't know if I already said that or not, but like everything Dr. Karen talked about with the spleen influences, spleen 6 is probably going to help it, just because it's a really, really powerful point. So how you're going to find this point is on the inside of your leg. If you bring your foot up to your lap, and on the inside of your leg, you're going to have a little bump there, and that's called your medial malleolus. That's where people, like where your ankle bone is what some people call it. You're going to go up 3 finger widths up, and you're going to find it with your pointer finger. That's probably going to be tender on most people. Yes. If you don't find it appropriately, it's going to be very tender. Feel around. That means if it's not tender, you probably didn't find it. Or maybe you're just very, very, very healthy. But
your spleen's in good shape.
Yeah, your spleen's in good shape. As Americans with American standard diet, it's very, very unlikely. And how much you're like overworked and overthinking, it's very unlikely that this point is not tender on someone. If you are pregnant, please do not hit this point. Do not hit this point. Consult with myself or Dr. Karen. There are specific points that are forbidden in pregnancy, and this is one of those.
They can cause uterine contractions. So.
Yep. You don't want to cause contractions. So that is a wonderful point, though, for women if you're having like PMS cramping or something like that. So, but if you're pregnant, please do not use. The next one is spleen 9. So spleen 9 is actually up by your knee. So if you find your knee joint, or as chiropractors, I call it the popliteal fossa, and you find the front part of your knee and you kind of drop off, there's going to be a groove there right on the inside of your leg. It's also going to be tender. And it's, like I said, just below that knee joint. It's a good point for low back pain and knee pain. Because it is local to the knee, but it's also going to be good for the same abdominal discomfort, swelling and pain in the lower limbs, UTI, and genital pain of any kind like that. It's going to be a big point for dampness, as Dr. Karen was talking about earlier. So that's where the swelling comes into effect. So if you're holding on to a lot of dampness, if you have found yourself being more drawn to eating those processed foods or the sugar or something like that, this may be a good point to hit on your leg. So those were the 2. I know they were both spleen points. I was gonna add in a stomach point, but some of the stomach points are a little bit harder to find. You know, you're like halfway between, like you need to find it. Maybe in practice we could show you where stomach 36 is or something, but these are going to be your main points to help with the stomach and spleen. So
that's great. Yeah, and the stomach 9 point, that's a Hasi point as well. So it's really good at transforming fluids. And that's basically the spleen's job too, is you're not transforming fluids properly like the spleen should. That's where a lot of the dampness and bloating and heaviness comes in. So yes, line's perfect for that.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I hope this was enjoyable for some of you guys, that you learned something new that you can incorporate into your daily life over the next month. And I hope everybody has a wonderful Earth element season. It's such a short season, but early autumn, late summer, whatever you want to call it. I hope you guys all have a good transition into fall.
Yes, and we'll see you in the fall.
See you in the fall.